Welcome back, everyone. We are going to talk about the American Rescue Package and the fact that it just passed the United States House of Representatives. That is the $1.9 trillion stimulus package that we've all been waiting on, the $1,400 stimulus checks. We're also going to talk about what that means for the upcoming week and the Senate. Very important information. But before we get to that, I want to share with you a news item that's very interesting. And this is coming from a Republican representative in Arizona, Paul Gosar, who introduced an amendment to the current stimulus bill, which would slash all non-relief spending and then introduce that money back into the hands of the American people by the likes of a $10,000 stimulus check. I know that this is a little bit of a troll on Paul Gosar's part, but I want to talk about it for a second. This is what he says. I offer an amendment to prioritize $10,000 stimulus checks to Americans most affected by COVID-19 and lockdowns. Instead, Democrats chose foreign aid, big tech transit, and Pelosi's political priorities over direct relief to American citizens. Essentially, Paul Gosar took out all of that spending that really didn't go to the American people and then just funneled it right back to the American people in a much bigger check, and then said, hey, look, they went with this one that took money away from people and put it into all these other line items. Gosar's amendment called for the removal of 10 agenda items of the American Rescue Plan and more than 200 sections, including further funding for the arts, federal corporate transit projects, vaccine confidence activities, and foreign aid. Gosar continued to say the people need help with car payments, mortgage, and rent, everyday necessities. The government broke it. Now the government must fix it. The people, not corporations or billionaires, need this money to survive. Again, I did start off by saying I know this is a little bit of a troll. I know Paul Gosar, this Republican from Arizona, is not actually looking to do this, but I do believe that he would be more supportive of a bill that just gave $10,000 checks to the American people than the current bill, which only gives the American people $1,400 checks and then funnels out the money to all other places. Now, some of it is really needed. You know, you have unemployment, you have that state and local government aid, and of course, Paul Gosar would much rather take that state and local government aid and just give the aid to the American people. But by giving it to the states and the local governments, you do aid the people. However, it is important to note when that money does go to the state and local governments, our government is very inefficient and wasteful and in many cases corrupt. So a lot of that money is just going to get funneled off to places it doesn't need to go. Instead, just send it directly to the American people. So although this is a troll, it does have an important point. And I can tell you this, even a year ago, I was advocating to some people that I know, these are family members and friends, that the money should just go to the American people, and that if the Republicans were smart, rather than fighting against these bills, they would just introduce their own bills at the same price with more of the money going directly to the American people, but do it in a serious way, not in a trolling way, a very serious way where you help the areas you need to, but the people get the money in this time of need. But the Republicans never did that. At best, we got this from Paul Gosar, which he's trolling the current bill where a lot of the spending does go to other places. So on to the American Rescue Package, the fact that it passed the House of Representatives and where it's going next in the Senate. So it did pass by 219 votes to 212 votes, and we thought it was going to get maybe 221 votes, although we knew a couple of Democrats might not vote for it. And the two Democrats that did not vote for it, this was right along party lines. Every Republican voted against this thing, and every Democrat voted for it except for two. And that was Representative Jared Golden of Maine and Kurt Schrader of Oregon. And they crossed party lines in order to vote against this thing. Now, Golden said the decision to vote for it was the fact that there was a lot of spending in it that was not related to COVID-19 or the pandemic. This is the quote. During challenging times, the country needs to elect leaders to work together to meet the most urgent needs of their communities. The bill addresses urgent needs and then buries them under a mountain of unnecessary or untimely spending. In reviewing the bill in its full scope, less than 20% of the total spending addresses more COVID challenges that are immediately pressing. Funding for vaccine distribution, testing, and emergency federal unemployment programs, he added. So basically, he's saying we have a $1.9 trillion bill under the guise of a pandemic, basically giving out a bunch of money to things that in many cases aren't really related to COVID-19. So it's using an opportunity. We have this big pandemic going on, so our our lawmakers are using this opportunity to funnel in spending under the guise of this is for the pandemic and COVID-19. And so these two representatives didn't vote for it because of those reasons. However, it did still pass the House of Representatives like we told you it would. And it passed. It was Friday night. It was actually really early Saturday morning. I mean, they were talking about this thing all night long. It was sort of ridiculous and cumbersome, but eventually they did finally actually vote for it. So now what's coming up next is this bill is going to go to the Senate. The first week is going to be used for discussions and amendments. The big amendment worry was the $15 minimum wage. I know I have most of my viewers who watch me, and most of you, probably 90% plus, at least from the comments, agree that the $15 minimum wage has no business in a reconciliation bill. That's regardless of whether or not you believe that a $15 minimum wage should be a thing. That's a different discussion and a different argument for a different day. But the fact that a $15 minimum wage is finding itself in a reconciliation bill is corrupt because it does not fit the definition for being in a reconciliation bill, and the parliamentarian in the Senate did the right thing by removing it. And this is a good thing for the American people because now we are so much closer to getting this bill passed in the Senate. I do wish that they would get rid of all of the foreign spending. I'm sick and tired of the United States sending its taxpayers' money to all these different foreign nations. I don't care what it's for. Well, it's for COVID-related things. They need help. They need to call in their own citizens. Right now, we should be focusing on the American people. I'm sick and tired of that. I am tired of these politicians putting in line items for their own places that have nothing to do with COVID-19, just so they can funnel money to the people that they want to funnel. I am tired of that. But you know what? I also like the fact that American people are getting help too. I like American people getting stimulus checks. I think people who are on Social Security or disability or veterans or moms, and workers, low wage, they should be getting help right now. Unemployment should be getting help. Renters, landlords should be getting help. The people should be getting help, and I like that. But I do hate the fact that our politicians pile in just garbage into these things, and it separates people, and it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be about ideological stuff. It should be about the American people. The Senate is going to debate and discuss it, but thank goodness they don't have to discuss the $15 minimum wage. That's no longer a point of contention. So are there any more points of contention? Probably. This is where you're going to find them. There may be removal of some line items that have clearly nothing to do with COVID-19 or pandemic-related issues. And then you might see the stimulus checks, the wording and the language changed up slightly for it to be a little bit more targeted. I don't think it's going to be major changes, so I don't think most people have to worry about it, but there might be some changes to the language there because we do know that Joe Manchin wasn't even really in favor of more stimulus checks at all. And now those are in the bill. However, it is slightly more targeted, but is it targeted enough? So that's going to be the discussions in the upcoming week in the Senate. I do believe they're going to figure it out. I believe they're going to make the changes and they're going to get it done to the point where they know every Democrat in the Senate is going to vote for this thing and probably every Republican is not, but it doesn't really matter because all they need is every Democrat to vote for it. Once they write the bill in that form and fashion, then the Senate and the House of Representatives must now pass the new amended bill. The House of Representatives will clearly pass it. The Senate will likely be passing it as well. We're still in the 90% plus chance of this getting done. This is more likely than not. So when is this likely to get passed? It's probably going to get passed in the days preceding the March 14th deadline. We've been sharing that deadline with you now for a while. I know other news sites now are sharing that as well. So I do think that this is a really good shot right now. They're still getting done. And then the stimulus checks are going to be coming out in the weeks following. So most people are probably going to get this sometime at the end of March is when you're going to see it funneling into your bank account. Those who get it really early might get it the week after March 14th, but it still looks very good. So we'll continue to keep you up to date. If anything changes or there's more information that you need, we will always share that with you. Thank you for coming along with me. As always, I will catch you next time.